Yo, what's up? My name's MTG, and if you're like me, you might be a little bit obsessed with the reserved list. I know that I myself have poured hours and hours and hours into going over the entire reserve list tens of times, many times, looking for untapped potential, underrated cards, hidden cards. There's just so much intrigue there. These cards can never be reprinted. The idea of the market exploding on these cards, the idea of finding that little gem on these cards is always so fun and exciting to me. And I think a lot of Magic players feel the same way. These are just some of the cards that I've found over the years, many hours put into this, over the years of just looking through these cards, testing them out actually physically and pragmatically in decks, and seeing what works and what doesn't. These are a bunch of reserve list cards under 50 bucks. I think most are under 10, to be totally honest with you. Budget reserve list cards that I do think are underrated in commander decks and have a place that aren't being played and aren't being talked about enough. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe. It's the best way to support a growing and small channel like myself. All right, Recycle. I've been singing the praises of this card for a very long time. I discovered this card through a card shop owner, Luke, who was a very talented magician who knew tons of old cards, was obsessed with old cards. Recycle only really got thrown into the mainstream as of late, I feel like, when Flubs became a commander. People found out, oh yeah, Recycle is a 4-mana, 2-green enchantment that says, skip your draw phase. What the heck? Why would you want to do that? But whenever you play a card, draw a card. That counts a land. This is not play a spell. This is play a card. That includes a land, that includes an ornithopter, whatever you want to do, whatever it may be, right? And Flub says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card if you have no cards in your hand, otherwise discard a card. Weirdly, this kind of nombos with Flubs. I don't actually love Recycle in a Flubs deck, but there are tons of great decks you can throw Recycle into. Lots of graveyard decks. I've wanted to see someone build, or have myself honestly build, a full lands commander deck with dredging elements, dredging lands, and getting your extra draws off Recycle to increase those dredges, and having multiple lands to be able to play. Recycle in like some sort of mono green dredge Azusa shell, or something of that nature, something Golgari deck. There's so much potential with Recycle. The biggest downside of this card is the 6-mana cost. That is the biggest thing. Skipping your draw phase, you're not worried about with this card. I will say, during your the bottom text, during your discard phase, choose and discard all but 2 cards. That is usually a benefit, or it should be in the decks you're playing this in. You don't mind throwing your cards in the graveyard because you can utilize them in a graveyard deck, right? So I honestly find that to be a positive in a lot of the decks that I put Recycle in, and that is important. This is not a deck or card you throw in a deck willy-nilly. This is a card you kind of have to build around and play around and have it work very specifically, but it's under $5. It is a $4 card. An extremely underrated card. You can find also with a lot of these cards, the price is going to be the like near mint or lightly played copy. Most of these cards, if you buy them damaged, like I love to do to have them be playable, they'll be like $1 to $2. You can pick up a ton of Recycles for $1 to $2. All right, next up, I also do want to qualify some of these cards I am somewhat spec'd into, and I want to be honest with you guys with that and up front, so you know that I am biased. I am biased, right? I can't get rid of that, but I want you guys to be aware of it, you know, so we have a truthful relationship. I own about 6 to 8 lifelines, and this card actually did spike up recently. I've bought a bunch for 12 to 15. I've been trying to tell people for so long that this card, not only is it really good in my opinion, but it's also so fun. I think this card is one of the most, maybe the most fun card in Commander to play with. Another graveyard strategy similar to Recycle, but different as it's more creature based. This is an aristocrat player's dream. Let's talk about why Lifeline is kind of underrated. It's because it's complicated. It's hard to understand in my opinion. It's a 5-mana artifact that says whenever a creature is put into a graveyard and a creature is in play, return that creature from your graveyard to play at the end of turn. That's a confusing text box. Essentially what it means is if a creature is killed, as long as there is at least one creature in play to see that creature go to the graveyard, everything comes back at the end step. Unless someone board wipes, on average, there's certain niche situations, but unless someone board wipes, every creature is coming back. You can even sacrifice your entire board, essentially, and then the only creature that you would lose would be the last creature, because if the last creature didn't see any, or had no creatures on the board to see it go, then it would not come back, right? However, this counts for everyone's creatures is the one thing. So if you're building around Lifeline, you have to make sure that you are able to abuse it better than anybody else. You're playing your Satyr Wayfinders, your dumb little sack outlets, your Phyrexian altars. I think if you play a aristocrat style deck where your commander is a sack outlet, something like Varolz, I always go to, underrated commander, by the way. Varolz, the scavenger commander card. If your commander has a sack outlet on it, I would recommend, I think you should be playing Lifeline. I think Lifeline should be an auto include, but I think it's a fun card as well, so it's hard to, there's a lot of complications. You get every ETB back, you get every death trigger, you get like these things over and over and over again, and it's at each end of turn, not just your end of turn. I have a whole video if you want to see a deep dive into Lifeline. I can't go into every little detail here, but it is up to $30, so it's one of the more expensive cards we're covering, but you can find Japanese copies or beat up copies for 15 to 20 bucks still over on TCG Player. Definitely check out Lifeline. I have a whole video covering it. One of the most fun, underrated cards in Commander. Next up, Oath of Ghouls, just a really small, simple value engine. It's $3. It's hard to go wrong. During each player's upkeep, if there are more creature cards in that player's graveyard than in target opponent's graveyard, that player may return a creature card from his or her graveyard into his or her hand. We all know, we might know, Oath of Druids, one of the most powerful cards in all of Magic, a whole vintage deck played around it. Oath of Ghouls is way less powerful than Oath of Druids, but it's not banned, right? It's actually allowed in the format. Who would thought? Oath of Ghouls, just a fun little recursion effect every upkeep. It might not go in your way if you aren't the one with the most creatures in your graveyard, which is important. So it's not the best card on this list, but I think it's a cheap, like almost like an extra. Imagine, would you pay 2 mana to draw a creature card from your grave, like or draw a creature card, an extra card every single turn? Every single upkeep? I think most people would, right? You have to meet the stipulations, but as long as you meet the stipulations, you're drawing an extra card a turn. That's a lot of draw engine and value. Next up, another card that I've sung the praises of infinitely that I do have a whole video on that I also am spec'd into, but I'm also spec'd into, this card's really cheap. I think I own like 10 to 12 Halls of Mist. They just costed $1 a piece. So keep it, what do you call spec'd into, right? So keep that in mind. Halls of Mist, an incredibly powerful card. It's a land card that has cumulative upkeep of 1. That is the biggest downside. And I'll talk about how you can get around that or cheat around that here in a quick sec. No creature can attack if it attacked during its controller's last turn. This is an every other turn fog for certain creatures, but it also is a static effect. So let's say I like this card because it sets up game-winning situations. You can hold it in your hand, sandbag it in your hand for the right moments, and it can literally win you the game. Let's say you're playing Commander, 1 person's dead, there's 3 people left in your pod, okay? Player 1 is easily in the lead. There's player 2 and your player 3. Player 1 goes to attack out with all of his big scary dragons at player 2. They're going to take him out, and then your measly little player 3, he's going to take you out next turn for sure, and there's nothing you can do. Player 1 takes out player 2. Okay, cool. Kills him, goes to your turn. You play Halls of Mist. Now, every big scary dragon that player 1 just used to attack player 2 can't attack you on their following turn. You basically time walked them. You basically made them skip their entire turn. They can still play things, right? Obviously. But for a land drop, this card is insane. For a land drop to do this effect, the fact that you can keep it around if you want to, it does affect you, so you can play it, and then if it's gonna have a downside for you, you can just let it sacrifice itself to its own cumulative upkeep cost. You don't have to pay that, of course. Halls of Mist is also getting stronger and stronger as time goes on, as threats are bigger, as well as things like Yavimaya and things like Urboard, right? Urboard's been around forever, but now that the new new to me, boomer, right? The new Yavimaya land that turns all lands into forest, the fact that this can now tap for mana, that's its biggest downside, is these lands that have amazing utility but don't tap for mana, they're going to get better and better over time as Magic, as Wizards, keeps printing these cards that tap for mana. And I think they're going to turn lands to tap for mana. I think they're going to keep doing that. I think that they're not ending the cycle at Urboard and Yavimaya. It wouldn't surprise me if one day we see a blue version of that land, which would be insane. But you gotta sell packs, I guess. So I wouldn't surprise me if this card keeps getting more and more powerful. And you can get them for $1 a piece usually. They're super, super cheap. And this is the final card. This is the final card that I am spec'd into. And this is the card that I am the most spec'd into. So final biased warning. Okay, I can't remove that bias. It's gonna be there. It is what it is. I'm gonna be honest with you guys about it. I do own, you actually see my inventory here. I own 28 of this card. I covered this card in a video called Can You Manipulate the Reserve List for $100? And obviously you can't, but you can still make an investment and try to have some fun and talk about a cool card, which is I always butcher the name. Kadvarus, right? Kadvarus Bloom. 3, a black, and a green. So 5 mana for an enchantment that says choose a card in your hand, remove it from the game, add 2 black or 2 green to your mana pool. Play this ability as a mana source. The fact that you can do this at instant speed, the fact that this is colored mana, not colorless mana, very, very relevant. The fact that green keeps getting so much card draw. The fact that Rixasha's expertise, the 6 mana green sorcery that does shenanigans where you draw a million cards based on a creature's power and then you play a card for free. You could play no. What am I thinking of? The green 6 mana, you can yell at me in the comments for being a bad YouTuber. But there's that 6 mana green card that says draw cards equal to the greatest power creature you control and then play a CMC 5 card for free. You could do that, play that card, draw a million cards off whatever your powerful creature is, play the Kadvarus Bloom for free, and then start exiling cards from your hand to start drawing more cards and going infinite. And that's this card, because draw is the most powerful thing in Magic, and people love to draw cards, and draw keeps getting power crept and power crept and power crept. We're drawing more and more cards every single year in Commander, in my opinion. Feel free if you agree or disagree with me in the comments. I think this card just keeps getting more powerful over the years. I think Kadvarus Bloom getting more and more powerful as time goes on. Right now it's about $5 or $6. It wouldn't surprise me if this keeps going up. This card is perfect in, which Gitrog? There's the black, green, the Golgari Gitrog. They're all Golgari. Not really, but the Golgari Gitrog that you saddle, and then you attack with him, sacrifice a creature, draw a bunch of cards, and then play a bunch of lands. This card is perfect in that deck. I run it in that deck. So, Bloom, check it out. Really underrated card for about $6. Next up, I think this card's more on people's radar. Now, a lot of these cards, some of them are on people's radar, some of them aren't. I think Grim Feast is on people's radar now. It kind of popped up recently-ish and got a little bit more notice. It's up to $8, so it's not as cheap as it used to be. It used to be around $3. I bought a copy for $3, thankfully. It is another Golgari enchantment, an enchantment that at the beginning of your upkeep it deals 1 damage to you. Okay, sure. Whenever a creature is put into target opponent's graveyard from play, gain amount of life equal to that creature's toughness, and I assume it's going to be whenever a creature dies, it triggers. So you put, I have to like read the Oracle text for this one, but it's just decent life gain over time. If you're playing, whether you're playing a life gain deck or not, people really found out that the passive life gain you get from this, you don't have to kill the creature. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be, you know, maybe they sacrifice. It doesn't even have to be like killed by a kill spell or resources. You just gain a lot of passive healing off this. Creatures die in Commander, whether combat, whether a murderous cut, whether, you know, whatever it may be. Creatures be dying, dude, you know, creatures be dying. And Grim Feast just gets you a silly amount of life for 3 mana. A 3 mana investment for the rest of the game at 1 damage to you is ridiculous. Life gain, generally, not the most powerful thing in Magic the Gathering. We all know that. I'm not going to sit here and try to preach you guys, oh yeah, you know, gain 1 billion life and you'll be great. Don't develop a board state, just gain life. You know, obviously that's really good. It's not, right? You do need to develop a board state, but this is just 1 card for 3 mana that does all the life gain you need. You don't need to put any more life gain in your deck. This is just do this on a Golgari deck, and I think it's worth the cards. The question you have to ask yourself is how much life over the course of a game is actually worth it. At what point are you time walking your opponents? At what point are your opponents out of reach of killing you because of the life gained? That's the question you have to ask yourself. You can get this for currently about $8. It might go back down. You could wait on it. I don't even know if it's an $8 card. I think it's like a $4 card, but we'll see in the future. Next up, let alone if you have Golgari like life gain synergies, right? Next up, Altar of Bone. I love this card. Super underrated. It needs to be played in a specific deck, probably some sort of like Abzan Aristocrat deck or White-Green Aristocrats, Selesnya Aristocrats. Not really a known archetype, but you know what, I was gonna save this card for later. We'll talk about this afterwards because they go hand in hand. I love both of these cards. Altar of Bone, 1 white, 1 green, a sorcery. Sacrifice a creature to tutor a creature card out of your deck and put it into your hand. This is a budget tutor in Selesnya that also is a sack outlet that could be a positive or a negative depending on your deck build, of course. You could sacrifice something like a Blister Pod or something like some sort of Eldrazi Scion, some just Satyr Wayfinder, Elvish Mystic, whatever you want to sacrifice, some little dirtily green or white creature, a Doomed Traveler perchance, right? Something stupid to just go get yourself a threat or a bomb or whatever you need in that moment. It's a fun way to tutor for a green creature that isn't just Worldly Tutor. Obviously, Worldly Tutor is better. You know, there are better things that we run, but if you have these sacrifice synergies, you might want to look at Altar of Bone, and that's why I can talk about Asmira. Asmira, I don't think is one of the more powerful cards on this list, but it's a fun one. I love this card. I've wanted to build her as a commander forever, and one day I will. Asera, Holy Avenger, 2, a green and a white for a legend from Mirage, a 2/3 flyer for 4 mana, okay, whatever. At the end of each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Asera, Holy Avenger for each creature card put into your graveyard from play that turn. Now, this is really interesting because we have a little synergy pile growing, okay? Asera plus Altar of Bone, obviously great combo. You tutor for a thing, you put a counter on her, plus Lifeline. Lifeline plus Asera is a fantastically fun combo where you start sacrificing all of your creatures. They do hit the graveyard, they do trigger Asera, and then they come back, right? So you get to basically do this you can even do it at every end step. If you have Asera plus Lifeline plus a sack outlet, that's 3 pieces. That's a lot of things. I'm not saying it's the most powerful thing to ever come to Commander since, you know, the Dragon, but it's a fun, niche, underrated concept that can be really powerful that I'm sure no one's ever seen before. People don't see very, very often, right? Asera, Lifeline, plus a sack outlet. You are sacking your whole board, growing Asera every turn over and over and over again, and getting all this value and all these synergies. Very, very cool cards. Very underrated. Asera is $1, dude. Asera is $1. Altar of Bones, $5. Check them out. Next up, Glacial Crevices. I think a lot of people know about this card at this point, but if you don't, it's a fun one, not for your opponents. 2 and a red for a red enchantment. You don't see those a whole lot being besides like Blood Moon, I guess. Sacrifice a snow-covered mountain. Specifically, not even just a snow-covered land, a snow-covered mountain. For 0 mana, though, no creatures deal damage in combat this turn. This is a constant fog effect as long as you can keep up your snow-covered mountains. I would only really play this deck in probably mono red. You're probably playing some sort of mono red prison deck if you're playing this, something with those blood moons, you know, whatever other prison cards, right? If you want to be, speaking of prison cards, you know, this is all, I didn't realize how many of these cards synergize. Some sort of mono red prison deck, you would play this in to just constantly fog and just be insanely obnoxious. If your opponents can't remove this, they can't remove a red enchantment, they're going to be in trouble and might not be able to get to you for the whole game at the cost of 1 land per turn. This is going to be about $3. Really cheap card. $3. Speaking of red prison, we got ourselves Mudslide, an underrated prison card. You don't need to be playing mono red for this. This could just be plopped into like Jeskai Pillow Fort, or if you're playing Propagandas, if you're playing Ghostly Prison, Mudslide is an underrated sick card as well. 2 and a red for an enchantment. Creatures without flying do not untap during their controller's untap phase. At the end of his or her upkeep, each player may pay additional 2 mana per creature to untap that creature. It doesn't even stop them from attacking you. It stops them from untapping, which can be relevant for tap effects, obviously. Mana ramp, like making someone pay 2 to untap their Elvish Mystic. Not something they're going to want to do. That's going to be pretty darn annoying and slow down your opponents quite a bit. Yeah, it's only $2 as well. Really, really interesting card. Now, keep in mind, this is your creatures as well, not just your opponents. So you have to play around this in a build-around strategy. Either you could be like mono-red flyers. I don't know if that's... I guess mono-red dragons. This could actually be kind of a sick play. Mono-red dragons. Check it out. How many mono red dragons? There's dozens of them. Anyways, Spoils of Evil. I think everybody knows about this card right now. This card is one of the more popular reserve list cards that has gotten attention over the years. So sorry if you already know this one. I'll try to call it unique ones, but 3 mana, 2 and a black for an instant. For each artifact or creature in target opponent's graveyard, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool and gain 1 life. The life gains are relevant. You're really playing this to just ramp up. It's a way to hopefully ramp up a ton of mana, but you have to be playing against someone that actually has those things in their graveyard, so it's a metagame specific sort of card. It's $3. It could be similar to a Dark Ritual, or it could be just have 6 for it to act as a Dark Ritual sort of effect. So Spoils of Evil, something to consider, but I think it's already known about, and it's not... I think this is one of those cards that doesn't play out as well as it looks, in my personal opinion, from my experience. Next up, now I do think this card is super underrated. Looks very... You might see... I thought Petrowski, I thought this was under $50. So I'm at most cards like under $10, but this card is the one exception. And hear me out, okay? This card, you can actually get it for cheaper. You can actually get it in Italian, if you don't mind playing foreign cards. I love foreign cards personally, for $13, $15. $15, $16, lightly played for 17 for a reserved list card. That's really, from Legends, that's a really, really good deal if you ask me, if you don't mind it. Now, this is Alabaras. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. Alabaras Carpet. I'm just going to call it Carpet, excuse me. 5 mana for an artifact. That's a lot of mana. It's a lot of mana to play and to, it's 10 mana to play and to activate in the same turn. Woo! That's a lot of mana. Too much mana, if you ask me. However, once you play it, 5 mana, once you start having it going, you can pay 5 mana and tap it repeatedly every single turn cycle. Prevent all damage done to you by non-flying attacking creatures. Once again, similar to Glacial Crevices, a repeatable fog over and over and over again. If you're playing Mono Red Prison, ironically, this is great. This is fantastic. It's an underrated card. I think it's something to check out. It's kind of a weird one, a wonky one, but this could be such a pain at the table to just repeatedly fog over and over and over again and not sacrifice a land every turn to do this. It just takes a lot of mana. That's definitely the main downside. All right, over to other cards. Once again, this card is very in the know. Everybody knows this card, I think, by this point. Phyrexian Purge, 2, a black and a red for a sorcery. Pay 3 life per target. Destroy any number of target creatures. This card is only really good in decks that want to lose a lot of life and then like gain it back, or like these sort of like life manipulation decks. This card is fantastic. That's it. I do not recommend. You could play it in just a Rakdos deck. I think it costs too much life. I think it's, you just play a board wipe. Just play Toxic Deluge. Just play Damnation. There's other things. I know you could one-sided board wipe, which is cool. I don't know how I feel about this card outside of, you could do it if you like the card, which is awesome. I always love that. I love playing suboptimal cards because they're sick. Look at the art, right? Look at the flavor text. Only those who have nothing have nothing to fear. Like, if you play this card against me and say, hey man, I'm playing it for the flavor text, I'm gonna say, okay man, you know what? I concede, you win. You're a fucking better gamer than me. That's impressive. That's some cool shit. That's a sick flavor text, right? Sick card, very cool card. Not for most decks, in my opinion, but still worth mentioning. It's $2. Carnival of Souls. Now, I personally have not played with this card, and I don't know how to break this card. I'm sure some of you sickos out there can. Carnival of Souls, 1 in a black. Whenever a creature comes into play, you lose 1 life, and you add a black mana to your mana pool. That's the important thing. This is going to... Any card like this, I can imagine this. I'm thinking about this in like an Elves deck, like a Golgari Elves. The only problem is, if it was green, it'd be way better, obviously. But Golgari Elves, where you're playing a bunch of, you have like your Glimpse of Nature. You're popping off your Glimpse of Nature. So every time you play a creature, you're drawing a card. You're playing an elf. You're gaining a black mana. You're drawing a card. You're playing an elf. You're gaining a black mana. You're drawing a card. You're just, I think this card has insane potential, and I want to see someone break this so badly. Or you can just go infinite. You can do infinite ETBs. I believe it's a Gravecrawler, the little 2/1 zombie that you can like play over and over and over again. There's tons of ways to just do stupid shit with this card, and I haven't played with it personally. I don't know the exact combos, but I wanted to show you guys this card. I think it's sick. I think it has some break open potential if someone could solve it. It's about $7 currently. Probably could get one cheaper. Once again, this is all the lightly played, like near mint cost. You could probably get this for, I would guess, $4. I would guess you could get a damaged copy for $4. Next up, okay, now we're getting into the weaker cards. I do want to say the last 4 cards on this list are, I put them on this list because they're more so fun than powerful. So hear me out. If you like fun cards, let's keep watching together. Harbinger of the Night. 2 and 2 black, summon a spirit for a 2/3 creature. During your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature. I love this in sort of a pestilence deck. In a -1 counters are just funny to keep track of as well. It'll annoy your opponents to keep track of -1/-1 counters. You can proliferate. That's the big thing, is some sort of black proliferate deck that wants to engage with -1/-1 counters in some way. I love -1 when you can do -1/-1 counters as removal. I think it's super underrated removal. It's why Tragic Slip is so good. It gets through Indestructible, which is really prevalent right now, I feel like more than ever. It gets through a lot of things. Like -1 counters gets around a lot of effects. Also, the fact that it's putting a counter on each creature, not target creatures, it gets around Hexproof, gets around Shroud. It's getting around everything. This card gets around protection. It gets around Ward, right? Which is, hyper prevalent. I think this is super interesting, super obnoxious. It's like that snail, that Toxrill or whatever, that snail kind of card. Your opponents might not like it to some extent, but I think it's a fair version. It's on a 2/3 body. You can get this off. You can bolt it. You can swords it. You could path it. Your opponents should be able to deal with this card. I think it's a fair, fun way to deal with -1/-1 counters. Next up, a fun card. Once again, also it's like what, $2? $3. Very fun card. Not the most, but it could be insane, but it's just so timing restrictive. Lure of Prey, 2 and 2 green. Play only if an opponent successfully casts a summon spell this turn. That's just cast a creature. How many of your opponents are casting a creature in one? Like, you're probably going to be able to cast this. You need to leave 4 mana up in a green deck at instant speed, and then your opponent has to cast a creature. But when that happens, you can put a green creature card from your hand into play as if it were played. This is a sneak attack, a show and tell just for yourself. For a green, it has to be a green creature. Very important restrictions here. You have to leave up 4 mana at instant speed in a green deck. Kind of awkward. You have to wait until your opponent plays a creature. That's probably the easiest part of it. And then you do have to play a green creature card. It has to be a green creature card, and it's going to be like on your opponent's turn. Sneaking in Crater Hoof with this card is not going to be great, most likely. You know, you're not going to be able to kill. You can represent a block, I guess, but there's things like that. Like, it's not going to be amazing for a lot of what green wants to do, but this is a fun card. It's a $4, $3 card, $2 card, maybe $1 or $2 damaged. Lure of Prey should be in more decks, dude. This card is so fucking fun. Speaking of fun cards, but this is probably the weakest card on the list. These 2 last ones are the weakest. But it's a fun card. Bone Dancer, 1 and 2 black for a 2/2 creature. It's a zombie, if that matters for your synergies. For 0 mana, put the top creature card of defending player's graveyard into play under your control. The most annoying part about this deck, or this card, that your opponents are not going to like, is they will have to keep their graveyard order. Graveyard order matters. I'm used to that. I like playing Eternal formats. I am used to keeping my graveyard order. Some casual players don't like doing that. It kind of pisses them off. They like to organize it however they want to. Graveyard order actually does matter for certain cards in Magic if you don't know. Bone Dancer deals no combat damage this turn if you use that ability. You can only use that ability if he attacks and is unblocked. That's the real kicker, is you have to get this 2/2 to deal damage to your opponent, and then you can reanimate a creature. But you could also use this as a political tool. I think that's what Commander's all about, is the discussions, the conversations. Hey, can I do this to you, and then I'll reanimate this creature, and then I'll kill it immediately. You could kill it, or I'll get rid of it. I want to attack you with it. We need to get rid of Billy over here. Let me reanimate your fucking big dumb threat, and then I'll kill Billy, and we won't worry about I think it's a fun card. Bone Dancer is sick. Try it out in a deck. And then next up, the final card to discuss. It's a $1 card. Bone Dancer is like $3 to $4. Jabaris Influence, 5 mana for a white instance. Play only after combat. Gain control of target non-artifact, non-black creature specifically that attacked you this turn, and put a -1/-0 counter on it. It's a steal effect in mono white that you could only play if someone attacks you. It's weird. It's quirky. It's fun. You could steal someone's commander. Please don't do that to me. That's like the one thing in Commander that annoys me a little bit, is if you steal my commander. It's like, okay, well, that's a little like, elk my commander. That's a little annoying. It is what it is. If stealing your friend's commanders with this, it's just a fun card. If you play white decks, you look for something spicy, look for something new, you want to steal someone's creature, steal someone's commander in white, you gotta check it out. It's $1, man. It's a fun card. And that brings us to the end of today's list. I love going over reserve list cards. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it was fun for you. I hope you learned at least one new card. If you learned at least one new card, hit the subscribe button, like the video, dislike if you learn no cards, dislike. I deserve it. I failed at that point. So I appreciate you guys. All the resources used for this video will be linked in the description as well. Usually just MTG stocks and TCG player, typical stuff that every Magic player is using. And other than that, I'll see you guys later. Have a great day and keep playing Magic and buy cool cards, man.